Hello. In this video I'm going to show my demo for the Geometry Point Validator. This program validates geographic coordinates using latitude and longitude values. It implements input validation, session management, and error handling. I will now demonstrate different cases including valid and invalid inputs, the history feature, and the menu navigation. To start, at first I need to run this Python script using this run Python file in the Visual Studio Code. When I click the run Python file, it shows in the terminal the valid reason of choosing a point. So here there are three options like choosing an option. The first one is validate a point. In this we can validate a point with the latitude and the longitude values. And the second option is the show history, in which we can able to see the overall history, what we have done so far. And the last but not the least is the end session option. This closes the session and terminates the program. Come, let's go start with validating a point. At first I will be planning to give validate a point option by clicking the option 1, enter the choice as 1. In here, first I will enter a valid point, latitude let's say 45 and a longitude of 120. Both values fall within the acceptable geometric range, so the system identifies this as a valid point. And next here I enter a latitude with the invalid latitude. So again we can choose the option 1 and we can select the invalid as 100 and the correct longitude as 50. Here the longitude is valid, but the latitude exceeds the permissible range of -90 to +90. The program demonstrates input validation by making the point as invalid and providing a clear reason. And next, now we can test it with invalid longitude. Previously we tested with the invalid latitude, now we can test it with invalid longitude. So for this, again I need to click the option 1 as validate a point. In this case I will be giving a latitude of 30, which is a valid, and for the longitude I give 200, which exceeds the allowed range -180 to +180. Again, the program enforces boundary checking and reports the longitude error. So finally we can test it with both invalid latitude and the longitude. Now I provide the both invalid latitude and longitude range outside the valid range. So for example, for the latitude I give as 120 and for the longitude I will give as 250. Now it's evident that the code shows latitude must be between -90 and +90 and the longitude must be between -180 and +180. So the validator correctly detects multiple invalid conditions and outputs the corresponding message. So this is what I done with the validating a point. Now let's say moving to the history. So the history feature maintains a record of all points entered during the session. It shows the total number of points along with each coordinate, whether it is valid, and the reason. This demonstrates state management within the session. So to activate this, I'll click by entering the option as 2. It shows what has done previously. So the total points earned is 4. Like at first initially I have done a valid point of 45.20, and at second point is the latitude I gave 100, but it needs to be between the range -90 to +90. This is how it shows the history option. I think we can now move on with the last option with the end session. So if I select option 3, the program terminates the session gracefully. This is an example of control flow and user directed session and management. Yeah, so this is what it works. And for the extra credit with the invalid input, I can show what I have done here. So again, giving the validator point here in this. For error handling, I now input alphabets instead of numbers. The program uses exception handling with the try except block to catch this error. and inform the user that latitude and longitude must be numeric values. In this case, I get ABC and the longitude. Yeah, you can see latitude and longitude must be in numbers. This is an invalid input. And for the invalid menu option, if there is no option other than 3, for example, if I give an option 8, the program responds with command does not exist, which ensure robustness and prevents unexpected behavior. Yeah, so for explaining the code, what I have done is I added a function validate point with the lat and long, and for this point it enforces geospatial constraints by checking whether the latitude is within the -90 and +90, and with the longitude must be between -180 and +180. I also added a show history function, implements state tracking by storing all user inputs in memory, and the main loop, which function handles session management and control flow. It repeatedly display a menu driven interface. Option 1 uses a try expect block to implement error handling for invalid numeric inputs. And the option 2 calls the history function to display session records. And option 3 gracefully ends the session. By combining input validation, exception handling, and a user-friendly interface, this program provides a reliable way to validate geographic points and manage session history. Yeah, by this way I conclude my demonstration of the Geometry Point Validator. Yeah, thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow, like, and comment. Thanks. See you in another video. Cheers.